Hello, and welcome to this week of TRUUU Podcast. I'm your host, Drea.
And I'm Alex.
And this week, we are going to be talking to you about growing up in the digital era.
Yeah, for sure. We remember the days before all the smartphones and constant internet access.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit nostalgic in this podcast and really throw it back to the early days of VHS tapes, cassettes, landlines, computers, pagers, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time, so take a listen.
Going way back to the days of the VCR player and VHS tapes, let's talk about that. Well, VHS tapes and also cassette tapes.
Yeah, if you wanted to listen to music or watch a movie, that's the two things you did way before DVDs and Blu-rays and all that
good stuff. The digital files.
All the digital files.
But I remember having bookshelves filled with VHSs, and it just taking up so much space because those are books. They're sizes of books.
Yeah, for sure. Especially old Disney movies, they came in those plastic covers, which by the way I figured out recently from my coworkers, those original ones are worth so much money now.
Really?
Yes. Apparently so. Allegedly, they're worth a lot of money, which is kind of cool because I have still drawers at home, with my parents, still drawers of VHS tapes that a ton of these Disney movies in the plastic covers.
I feel like that's something that even though it's worth a lot, I wouldn't want to sell.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
It's just it's my childhood because I'm sure my parents still have some too. Probably not as pristine as yours.
Well, no. There's quite a few of mine which are really jacked up. Probably more of our favorites growing up are the ones that we're watching. All of the covers are just so jacked up. It was really cool actually thinking about it. And you wouldn't want to get rid of those old Disney movies anyway because now that they have everything in the vault, you can't just buy every Disney movie anymore going out somewhere. So you kind of just have to.
Not saying that we could necessarily watch it anymore because it's on a VHS tape.
I have a VHS player in my room.
Do you? Is it working?
Yes, it is. It's a combo DVD VHS player.
Oh, wow. Talk about...
So I still live in the throwbacks.
I would actually like to watch something on a VCR. Yeah, I think that would be really fun.
There's only certain movies that I have because you know me, I really like to own actual tangible copies. I love having DVDs because I'm the ancient one who loves DVDs. But there's only certain movies that I have on VHS, so I'm you kind of need a player in order to watch them. And plus, my parents are just we're gonna keep this VHS DVD player for one day when we have grandkids, so we can show them all the Disney movies and stuff. That is their plan. I'm not allowed to keep this VHS player.
It's gonna be the grandparents' VHS player.
Yes,
that's so cute. Oh, I love that.
I just have it on loan. But anyway,
one thing I do remember about VHS is also on the same topic is having to rewind the movies.
So gnarly,
right? And then if you wanted to just go to a particular place in the movie, good luck, just either you had to be watching really carefully while it's rewinding or just hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends, how... Because, there's different, speeds back then for, rewinding and whatever. But, yeah, it was the longest wait ever. When you were wanting to watch a movie, but you pop it in and realize that it's in the credits.
Yeah. And you're just oh, God, I hate past me.
Yes, basically. It's just, it is really the whole Be Kind Rewind thing, that they did at...
The libraries?
And movie stores, video stores.
Yeah, I got movies from the library, so, same thing. Oh. I was a dweeb. Anyway, but do you remember, in addition to, the automatic rewinds, there was, manual rewinders? Mm-hmm. It's these crank things that you cranked it and rewound the movie.
Oh no!
You don't have those? Yeah, because how on the back of the VHS there was those two holes.
Yeah, for sure.
It would be this crank that you stick into those two holes and you crank it and you manually rewind it.
Man, we are really from ancient times here.
Yeah, if we told that to a child today, they'd be like, what? You gotta work for your entertainment?
See, that's the thing though, too, you had to be so careful with the cassette tape because if anything on the tape got ruined, that's it. That's it for the movie. And it's not even, I would think, as bad as getting a scratch or something like on a DVD because like
you can like buff that out. I heard like that toothpaste like hack.
Oh really?
Yeah, you put toothpaste on it and like fixes it.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, sorry.
So like you could put your tape in your player and the tape could get all messed up, it could get tangled, and then that's done. Just it.
Go home. It's over.
So yeah, that's the death of that tape.
Yeah. Speaking a little bit to cassette tapes, because I mean, same concept. Yeah. Like if you messed up the film or whatever on cassette tapes, it would, it's done.
Yeah.
But I remember like, when people, I would say probably my parents, especially like people of that generation today, like they want to talk about like audiobooks.
Yeah.
They'll always say books on tape.
Oh,
Have
really?
you noticed?
No. Well, in my house, we only had one thing on audiobook, and that was the 5th Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually like on a cassette tape.
Well, my parents, because my parents are big on like audiobooks, but they will never call it audiobook. They'll only ever call it books on tape.
Oh, that's weird.
And that like goes back, that's referring to back in the day when these audiobooks were on cassette tapes.
Cassette tapes was such a trip just in general, like especially like with music. Like I can remember like being in the car with my mom, like playing like Shania Twain on a little like cassette tape. Like you had to stick it like it I feel like they didn't even like they weren't even fully ingested into
they weren't. It was like kind of like janky, like
Yeah.
not perfectly fitting. Yeah, I agree. That's so funny.
But
But
you had to flip the side if you wanted to listen to the other side.
Side
If you want to
B.
listen to like the whole track, you had to like
yeah, I forgot about that.
flip it to side B.
Yeah, because I remember I used to, whenever I was sick, every single time I was sick, I had an audiobook of Chocolate Boy. I think that's what, or like Chocolate Rain, or I don't know.
Chocolate Rain?
I'm pretty sure if I look it up, I can follow. It's either called Chocolate Rain or Chocolate Boy.
I think Chocolate Rain's a song.
Chocolate Boy. Okay, well, it was called Chocolate Boy.
Okay.
And it was like this boy who got a fever, I think, because like he had so much chocolate. It was like chocolate fever or something like that.
Okay.
I don't remember. But I remember every single time I got sick, I would listen to this book, and like halfway through, I'd be like starting to fall asleep. I'm like really comfy, and then I'd hear, to continue the reading of this book, flip this tape over to side B. And it's just like, I'd be like, ugh, because then I'd have to get up, like I was all comfortable and like flip it. And yeah, I totally forgot. Like, you just triggered some PTSD memory in me of like being so comfortable and then having to get up to flip my tape. Oh yeah, good times. I forgot about that. Yeah, and then I don't know if you ever like recorded anything on TV back in the day.
My parents did. I don't feel like I ever actually witnessed anything being recorded, but then again, I have the worst memory in recorded history, basically. But yeah, we had a few tapes that weren't labeled very well, like with our VHS stuff, where like I know that we have the Charlie Brown Halloween special on one of these, like, and then also on the same tape I think is the Rudolph, like the red-nosed reindeer. Okay, so it's like two different seasons, like all in one tape. So yeah, and like Charlie Brown Thanksgiving is in there somewhere too, and like these are all recorded on VHS, and like in the meanwhile, because like when you record things back then, like you're recording the commercials with it as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think my parents, like I'm sure you've kind of noticed, like my mom especially is like pretty techie, especially for being like an older generation.
Yeah.
So like I remember my mom, like when she was recording something, like she would like be ready. Like the second that they were like, okay, we're like coming after these like messages or whatever, she'd be like, stop recording, and she'd like stop it and she'd wait for it to start back up and then start recording so she wouldn't have to sit through like the commercials when we're rewatching it.
That's amazing. I can't imagine my parents doing that, but it's kind of cool that yours did.
Like my mom's like, I'm running for this. That's how my mom is.
Yeah. I mean, for ours,
that was a trip.
Like I couldn't like remember, like thinking back, like I could remember or watching like the Halloween special one where like we'd be watching these commercials like in the meanwhile between like the different parts of the program, and like the old like Pillsbury Doughboy like Halloween sugar cookies.
What? Yeah, like I actually am kind of sad I don't have old commercials just to like
It's
see what was
cool.
out, right? Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Moving away from VCRs and cassette tapes, let's talk about the landline. And do you want to define what a landline is to people who may not be of our generation?
Okay, so landline is it's literally what its name is. Like, in order to, like, use the phone, like, you had to be connected to, like, a phone jack. Because, like, that is your phone line.
Yeah, it was, like, your household phone.
Yeah, you couldn't just, like, have a phone necessarily anywhere in your house, like, unless the cable stretched that far.
Yeah, but then you have, like, just a cable, like, hanging out.
Yeah, so, like, it's an actual phone that was connected to an actual port in your house that connected to the phone lines. And, like...
There was no like memory device in this phone. Like, it was just a phone.
Like, voicemail wasn't like it was different because like you actually recorded it on tapes.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't ever recall I mean, I guess when I was a kid I wasn't really paying attention to voicemail either, but like I mean, I assume that we probably had one like that. I don't necessarily remember it, but we did have like a landline phone, and not like where you think of like the cordless receiver sort of thing, like where you could take your phone off a dock or something. No, it wasn't like that at all. Like it had an actual, like you picked it, like it's like you're at an office where you pick up the receiver and there's a cord connecting from the receiver to the actual phone.
The base of it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we had too. Ours was like, I would say ours was a little bit more, I don't know, nice as a phone. I don't know. It like mounted on the wall. And it had, like, the phone, but it was connected by the cord. And then, like, in the same, like, box was, like, the voicemail, like, audio center or whatever. And then it also had this little display where we can write in, like, emergency phone numbers or whatever. And, like, you had it, like, up there. Yeah. Good times. But I also... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Well, I was just going to say that I also just remember, like, really being into pressing the buttons.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I don't know why. Like, it was like a really therapeutic thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually thinking about it on my way over here about how the thing I wanted most really as like a little kid was to have my own phone in my room.
Yeah.
Like I wanted my own like landline because like that was the cool thing that you saw on TV.
In
like
movies,
all these teenagers and stuff, like they had their own
like their
phone.
fuzzy phones and they're just like laying on their beds like with their feet up.
And that's the thing too with like landlines that you see like in like those older like movies and whatever is that it's all one line. So if you're on the phone, no one else can talk to you. Like if someone else tried calling like your phone number, they would just get a busy tone.
Yeah. Which was also problematic, though, because, like, if you're on one... there was no privacy, basically, because if you're on one end of the receiver and, like, someone else, like, picks up the phone, like, they could totally be listening to your whole conversation. Because it's just one line. Like, no matter how many phones you had in your house, it's one line.
Yeah, for sure. So anyone could just pick up the line and be like, who this be?
Yeah. Or like what my parents used to do a lot of times, like I'd be on the phone with my friends and then all of a sudden in the middle of our conversation, we just start hearing like buttons dialing.
Oh, yeah.
And that'd just be my parents like not even listening. Like they just pick up the phone and like start dialing and I'm just like, Mom!
By the way, as an aside, like that's the thing you had to do too. Like you had to, before like dialing a number, you had to pick up your phone, hear that there was a dial tone and then dial out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. I'm having like a lot of nostalgia hit me right now. Yeah. That was some weird times.
Yeah. It was really the craziest thing because the other day, it was probably like 6 months ago or something, I was out shopping. And you know how for a lot of people's phones, like not so much anymore because I feel like a lot of phones are going away from like traditional audio jacks. But I saw an accessory for a phone like at a Forever 21 or an H&M or something where you can buy a landline receiver
for yourself?
For your cell phone. Like, yeah, you could get that, and then it has the cord, and then it plugs in as an external,
weird.
Yeah.
I mean...
I'm just like, why would you want to do that?
Just for, like, the novelty of it?
But I'm just kind of like, for anyone who grew up with that, what's the novelty of it?
I don't think it's catering to our demographic.
Apparently, it's catering... Like, I didn't realize, I guess, that, like, we were so much on the end of that scale. But I'm just kind of like, I was seeing that in the store, and I'm just kind of like, why would any kid want to buy this?
I think maybe at this point it's like almost like what do either one, I can imagine it being kind of like a novelty of sort, you know, just having as like decoration, or two, like people being like, oh, like we're so hipster, we're so vintage, like look at this cool like old stuff I have, whatever. And, you know, like I'm not trying to like,
you know what's vintage is rotary phones.
Rotary phone?
You know what a rotary phone is.
Oh, with the little, like, the spin dial?
Yeah, it's a spin dial, and you stuck your finger, like, in the hole for what number you wanted, and then you brought it over to, like, the little metal pin.
Hook,
And then it went back. My dad, for the longest time, was looking for a rotary phone for the house. He really wanted a rotary phone.
Oh, my God. You know, speaking about rotary phones, I remember when I was probably like 8 or something. I was at my cousin Sarah's birthday party, and as a toy, she got like a pink fuzzy rotary phone, like just for funsies. Like it wasn't like an actual phone, like it was just to like pretend, make phone calls, whatever. Yeah. And I was so jealous.
Oh,
I remember being like,
for sure.
Are you kidding me? Like, auntie, whatever. Like, how dare you get Sarah that and not me for my birthday?
For sure.
I was pissed.
They were the coolest things.
They were pretty cool. Like, to this day, the fact that I am here 25 years old and telling you the gift that I was jealous of my cousin when I was 6, like, that shows the problematic nature of this.
And sidebar with vintage phone stuff is there was also, like, payphones around, like in the universe. Like not everyone had a cell phone, so like you could go to a payphone, put some nickels in, and then call someone. Like there was for the longest time at my high school there was a payphone.
Really?
Like they took it out, I think in the middle of when I was there. But yeah, there was a payphone.
Do they still exist?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, okay, here's one thing. Because in addition to payphones, there was also call boxes on freeways.
Yeah.
And those were like stations where like if your car got a flat or something, you would walk to a call box station and you can call like AAA or like a tow service or like whatever because people didn't have phones.
Yeah.
But I remember in high school I was like quasi dating, not really dating, not really like talking, and I'm really, for people not watching on the YouTube, I'm doing a lot of air quotes right now. But this guy that I was talking to, and I think it was like end of 9th grade, he went on a hiking trip and he like wanted to talk to me or something. So he called me from a payphone. And I'm just like, that wasn't that long ago, but is that still a thing? Like, are there payphones in the mountains though? Like maybe because there's not reception?
I don't know.
That's a really good question. People like comment in our comments.
Let us know if you see any payphones around.
Right? Take a picture. Send it to us. They send us the TARDIS. Anyways. Okay. And yeah, so last point about landlines was having also like a phone number and address book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because like we said, there was no like memory system like in your phone. So you had to have lists of people's phone numbers.
Well, certain phones did have speed dials that you could program in, but that's like only like you could only have like 6 or something.
There was only 6, and I feel like those phones were later.
Yeah.
Like not like so much when we were really little, but like probably middle school that was more of a thing.
Yeah.
Speed dial. But before that, it was for sure. Like I remember my mom's like address book that she had all of like our family's like phone numbers, and like I put my friends' phone numbers, and like it was a thing. Yeah. And now it's just like.
That was definitely the thing back then. We were talking about a little bit before we started filming that, like, back in those days, you remembered your best friend's phone numbers. Like, you just had a memory for all these phone numbers. And now, like, if you were to ask me what your phone number is, I would have no idea what to tell you. Same. I think you might be a 626.
I am a 626. And I want to say you're a 909 just because of the area. Like, just because I know your area. That's the only
reason why we know this, because I'm like, I know that you're from the San Dimas area, the San Dimas Glendora area, so you're going to have a 626.
Exactly.
I'm from Chino.
Exactly.
So I'm going to have a 909.
Yeah, totally. But I same thing. I would have absolutely no clue what your phone number is. Yeah. I remember I used to like memorize my friend like Sophie's phone number. Like I would call her all the time, and I would have that number like front and backwards, like no problem. Yeah. But I don't remember any phone numbers anymore today. I'm lucky I remember my own.
Yeah. At this point, I only know my parents' phone numbers, like, by memory, and I have to, like, really think about it. I have to really think about what our home phone number is, because we still have a home phone.
So do my parents.
By the way. Yeah. That does not get used at all.
Same. Well, my parents use their phone for when, like, their family in Mexico calls. Because I guess there's, like, I don't know, like, long distance. I don't know. Yeah. But anyways.
For us, it's just we get all the telemarketers at our home phone.
God, the worst. Okay, let's really move away from phones real fast.
We'll circle back to the phone advancements later.
Yeah.
So another big thing while we were growing up is, like, the advancement of computers.
Yeah, the first computer was... Well, I mean, the first computer I had, rather, like not the first computer.
Yeah, home computers, like, when they were really, like, on the rise, I feel.
Were humongous. ginormous. Like it was outrageous. Like it took up the entirety of a desk.
I'm pretty sure that the one that we had, the first one I remember having at least was a Gateway computer, and I'm pretty sure that that's no longer a manufacturer of computers anymore.
Really?
I think that they got absorbed by someone else. Really? Don't quote me on it. I'm not a source on this.
I had a Gateway computer like when I was a little bit old. I got a Gateway laptop when I was older.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Anyways, yeah, I remember when I was like young, I didn't really use the computer, like the giant computers, except for when I would go on to play like chess, this like flashcard game, and pinball. But pinball I feel like was even later. But like the original like big computers, I feel like it was like chess all the time.
Because like I'm not sure computers still do, like, you know, we have computers in front of us and I have no idea like if there are preset games, but most like home computers had preset games on them, like solitaire and all this whatever. And then if you wanted to play a better game, you'd have to play a game off a CD.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, CD-ROMs. Yeah. I don't even think we put that in our notes.
We put like CDs for like music, but yeah, so
wow, I forgot about that. Like CD-ROMs were the best.
Me and my brothers, we played the Jumpstart.
Yes, games. Jumpstart.
Which, for those who don't know, is like that's like
out.
they were kind of like supplemental, like educational games that you could like play at home and whatever. So like
they were so fun.
They went by what grade level you were in, and like you could learn like stuff that you're supposed to learn in that grade.
It was so fun. I remember my all-time favorite was 3rd grade and 4th grade.
Which ones were those again?
Let me tell you. 3rd grade, because I remember.
Okay.
3rd grade was the one with like the robot.
Oh,
right?
I love
That's
that
the
one.
best. Oh, I love that one. That was so fun. The one with the robot, and the 4th grade was
the
like
time traveling robot.
Yeah, the time traveling robot. Yeah. But 4th grade was like that haunted island.
Oh yeah,
those were the best, right? Those were the best ones. Oh my god, I forgot
like
about
barely remember the haunted one, but I remember it being so cool.
Yeah, I feel like I played 3rd grade more, but I remember really liking 4th grade.
Yeah, I really liked in the 3rd grade. They had the food one, the food mini game thing.
What did you do again?
It had like some tray thing.
You're like triggering some weird sector of my memory bank, but like I can't quite remember it.
I couldn't fully tell you, but there's something like you had to like portion out food onto it, but also Jumpstart Kindergarten had a similar thing where like you had to like calculate kind of like you had a food tray because the Jumpstart Kindergarten like because you were at school, so you had a food tray and like it's like you have to tell you what's on the tray and whatever.
Yeah, I remember that one. But I don't remember the 3rd grade one. I remember the game that I liked in 3rd grade was the Constellation game. Where like
sounds familiar.
Yeah, you would go into like the astrology room with like the big telescope, and you'd look at like the different constellations, and you like click on them, and they would tell you like the historic or like description of like that constellation, and then like you had to go to certain. Or wait, hold on. Actually,
it sounds familiar though.
No, you know what it was? You know what? I don't know. I'm confusing myself now. But I remember liking the constellation thing, and I like the one where you were like in that pod, like flying underground in the tunnels, and then you had to like come up at like a different like a biome. Do you remember that?
Kind of. I'm telling you what, after we finish like this episode, you and I really need to like dive into the archives and find this stuff because I'm just like, this is tripping me out so much. You know which one was really hard though? Jumpstart 6th grade.
I didn't play it. I didn't play that one.
It was the one where you like are this kid detective. Oh. And it was so like I never really played a lot of these myself. I really liked watching my brothers play them, but I feel like they never beat Jumpstart 6th grade.
Really?
Like Jumpstart 6th grade had a history component, which was really like difficult. And, like you were in this library and you had to like go around and find the answers to whatever questions. Like it was like a crossword puzzle.
I didn't play that one. I remember I stopped playing after like 5th grade because I didn't even like 5th grade because it was like that skater girl thing, and I wasn't into it. It was like that skateboarding girl.
I think isn't that the same one?
No, that's 5th grade.
Whatever.
Anyways.
The point being is that you had to play these games off of a CD-ROM drive.
Yeah.
Like CD.
Yeah. Oh, those are the best. Sorry, one last thing about CD-ROMs. I don't know if you played the Carmen Sandiego games.
We had it.
I loved the Carmen Sandiego games. They were the best.
I didn't play it, but we definitely had it.
Yeah, they were really fun. I remember one time it was like the Carmen Sandiego games were basically like you would travel back in time to different like periods or whatever, and you would like solve mysteries that were happening in that specific period that would affect the future. And the one that was my favorite was like the Egyptian one where like you're in like the pyramids and you're trying to like help the pharaohs, and I don't know. I just remember it being so cool. But anyways.
The true travesty here is that we don't have these games anymore.
Yeah, dude. What happened to them? Like, we have all of our VHSs. What happened to our CD-ROMs?
I mean, because I feel like you couldn't play those anymore. Like, if you even had, like, because, you know, we both have Macs, and right now, Macs don't have, like, CD, DVD drives anymore. Like, you can only get them externally. Yeah. However, I'm sure that the rate that these computers are operating at now, it wouldn't be compatible.
Really? That's a
prehistoric.
We should try to do that. Like, if we ever, like, do, like, kind of like a video, like, special on our YouTube channel that's not so much a podcast, it should be us playing CD-ROMs. Let's make a mental note of it.
Okay.
Okay, anyways.
We could probably use my family's computer at home because that thing is ancient.
I'm so down. I'm so down to play these games. That should be a segment.
We need to look into this.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, and then last thing about computers is we remember dial-up internet.
Oh man, dial-up internet. That was, because see, that's the thing. Like you got, because I don't know like how it worked with you. Because like I think about internet the most, like because I associate it also with like when you were trying to have an email, like there's an application on your desktop that you had to open. Like we had MSN, so we had to double click on the MSN thing and then sign in there to like get to like internet stuff. And then it would dial up, and like you'd hear the noise. I'm not going to try to imitate the noise right now. I'm definitely not going to.
I'll play like a little clip.
But like it's not like instantaneous where like if you click now like Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or whatever, it doesn't just pop up and you have access to the internet. Like you had to wait. You had to sit there and wait for it to connect because like you were plugged into Ethernet ports.
Yeah, and then like when you were using the internet, you couldn't make phone calls.
Yeah.
Like, it was all one line. I don't know how it made sense, but it did.
The internet phone line thing.
Yeah, it was weird. We did not have dial-up, but, like, I remember all my friends had it. I don't know what we had.
Blessed.
Like, I remember we didn't have... maybe I'm wrong, but I could swear we didn't have dial-up.
Because then, like, only one person also could be on the internet at a time. Like...
Yeah, imagine that, kids.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Weird time.
Yeah. And then... the next little topic that we have is just a quick one, but do you remember pagers?
I mean, I remember what they were and like seeing them in media. I don't think that either of my parents had one.
Really? My dad did, and I remember he taught me, he had it like probably when I was like in second grade, and he taught me how to contact him. So it was like basically you had to pick up the phone, dial his pager number, wait for it to ring, and then like I think it was like press like 1 or 2 or something like that, and then hang up. And then they would send like a message to his pager basically being like, oh, this phone number is calling you or something like that. And then that's how they knew to call that person back.
That's so weird.
Because people didn't have cell phones. So you couldn't just call their cell phone.
Yeah.
So you'd have to page them and then they get to a phone and then call you.
Well, I guess what we should say here is that at the time that we were young, there were cell phones, but they were really expensive. Like there was the brick.
Yeah, they were huge cell phones, and like not a lot of people had them.
Because I think that I'm pretty sure my mom told me once that my dad had a brick cell phone.
Really? We didn't. Nobody had it.
Yeah.
I mean, it existed. It just wasn't super, super common.
Yeah, it wasn't common. I think more towards like the end of the 90s, early 2000s. Like that's when my parents got cell phones.
Yeah.
My mom had like the starter Nokia cell phones.
Yeah, my mom did
like
too.
A total meme now.
Exactly. Yeah. And gosh, me and Alex were going down a hole talking about like our old cell phones, but beginning with like our first cell phones we both got in 6th grade.
Yeah.
I got mine because when I was going to middle school, my parents let me take the school bus, and they were like, emergencies only, take this cell phone kind of deal.
Meanwhile, for me, I took the bus the entire time. I didn't stop taking the bus to school from kindergarten until high school.
Oh, wow.
So all the way up through middle school, I did that. So it stopped in high school, thankfully.
Thankfully.
Well, yeah, because at that point, by the time I got into... Well, anyway, we could start
right.
But anyway, so the point is that I only got one, and my twin brother only got one because my older brother at that time was going into high school. Mm-hmm. So we were going to be in 6th grade, and he was going to be in 9th grade. Mm-hmm. So we were going to be on different campuses. So my mom wanted to make sure that I guess we could stay in contact or whatever.
So kind of the same reason, just like for emergencies, here's a cell phone if you need to contact someone.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, it wasn't even necessarily for emergencies, but the thing is we didn't have anything fun on it.
Yeah, like there was no real point to use it.
Because back in that time, it was more common to just have a phone plan. Like, you didn't have texting, and if you did, like, it might not even have been unlimited. Like, you'd have a certain amount of text per month that you could send out. I think it was sending out. Like, it's only what you send out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't get texting until, oh goodness, like 8th grade.
Yeah, same. I didn't, like what you were saying, like when we first got our initial phones, there was no texting on it. Also, like a lot of people had prepaid phones.
Yeah.
So like that basically is like you pay for the amount of minutes that you can like communicate with someone, and then like if you go over it, either you have to pay a premium or like you just can't do it.
Yeah, that's the thing too. A lot of phone plans, like it was common to have a certain amount of minutes, even if it wasn't prepaid, like for your regular like cell phone bill. Like you only have a certain amount of minutes. So I remember once like my dad or my mom or something telling us like, you guys need to chill out a little bit because we're running low on minutes this month. Like that was the common thing, is like, oh, we're running low on minutes this month, gotta conserve, gotta save.
Yeah, that was
And then that
was a trip.
We had flip phones.
We had flip phones, but I cannot for the life of me find a picture of my first flip phone.
Oh, I don't even know what my first flip phone was called either, but I know mine was a free phone, because like back in that time, because I don't really pay attention to that anymore. I feel like you could still get free phones.
Can you? Is that not a thing anymore?
I don't know.
I remember it was a thing back then, though.
Yeah, so it was a thing back then where like there were some like cheapo phones that you could get for free. Like all you had to pay for was the plan itself on the phone.
And the activation or whatever.
And the activation. So my brothers and I, we all had a free phone that Sprint had back in 2006.
Yeah. Same. But I was on Verizon, but same concept.
Dude, the Verizon people had it made. They really did. They really did, because like one of the big phones back then, especially like when we were in middle school, was the Razr.
Oh yeah, the Razr. The Motorola Razr.
One of my best friends at the time had a Razr. She had a pink Razr, and it was the coolest thing. And I was so jealous because they were only available from Verizon.
They were badass. They were really cool. Yeah. My mom had one. She had a gray one. And like they are also indestructible. So it's just like, you know, like nowadays you drop your phone and like the entire screen shatters. And back then you could like, I remember one of my friends who had one. She literally had her phone and threw it as hard as she could like up in the air. And when it landed, like the battery popped out. And then she like just put it back in, and she was like, okay, it's good, it's perks.
Yeah, that was the thing back then, the battery popping out of your phone. You could just like take the battery out of your phone back then. I mean, I know some phones I think can still do that a little bit, but for the not any iPhones.
Oh, okay.
Which, you know, you and I are Apple slaves now, so so it doesn't really matter. But for me, since I was on Sprint, my equivalent, which I ended up getting, I think in like 8th grade, was a Sanyo Katana. So it looks like kind of a slimmer version of the Razr. And mine was blue. Like it was kind of like an electric blue. So I really liked that because during that time I really didn't like pink. So having the blue phone was kind of cool.
You're like, dope.
But I still was like, it was still like second rate. Because I'm just like, it wasn't like a Razr.
That's so funny.
So it's just a, you know.
Like your version of Razr. Yeah. For me, the phone that like I was always really jealous of was the Sidekick.
Oh, those were so cool.
Those were so cool. They like flipped up and like you'd just be like, like on your personal, like it was like a little computer basically. And I think the only phone carrier that provided it was T-Mobile, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think so. And like, keep in mind back then, like for most phones didn't have a full keyboard like they do now.
Wait, is T-Mobile still a thing today?
Yes. Because I would see commercials of them offering free Hulu with a membership.
Really?
Yeah.
What
Not
company?
Hulu, Netflix, I'm sorry.
Wait, what company is it that got acquired by like AT&T or something?
You know, it's the one with the orange looking guy. The one that kind of looked like a starfish.
Singular wireless.
Yeah.
Okay. We're on the same path now.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, so
We understand each
T-Mobile.
other.
T-Mobile was the one that provided sidekicks. And I remember one girl in my middle school had one. And she'd just be, like, hanging out, like, with her sidekick, like, just, like, texting on it. And I'm just so jealous because I was like, she's so cool. I want to be her. And I never had the opportunity. Which I totally get what you're saying when you thought all the cool phones were Verizon. And, like, I had this one, like, phone I really wanted. So it was really a struggle back then. Because I feel like now, today, whatever, like, phone provider you have, you could just get a phone and then activate it with them.
And mind you, we'll circle back to iPhones a little bit later, but back then also, I'm pretty sure the first like iPhones are only available via AT&T.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like you couldn't even get an iPhone unless you had them.
Yeah. Pretty crazy time.
But the other like one of the really big things that was kind of universal to this entire period of time, I would say for me until maybe like my senior year of high school, is that people didn't have data plans. That was not a thing. Like, there was an internet button always on the phone. Like, I don't know, like, if you had this for you, but, like...
Yeah, I did.
But for flip phones, like, there's directional buttons.
Right.
And they had shortcuts. So, like, if you went to a certain directional button, it would open the internet.
Yeah.
So then you'd have to, like, press end, like, as fast as you could, because that was universal, you guys. That was, like, you had to press end as fast as you could, because if your parents saw that you opened the internet and they got charged for it, they would be so mad.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I remember being like, no! And then, like, you could see, like, it was, like, a picture of, like, a world, and it was, like, little dots, like, connecting, and I was like, no, don't connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and then, like, when we were a little bit older, like, going into high school, we still didn't have smartphones. We had, well, both of us had the Voyager.
Oh, it was so cool. It was,
which was really cool.
It was one of my first touchscreen phones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that was when touchscreen was, like, becoming a thing.
The thing with the Voyager is that, like, it was also a flip phone of sorts, but, like, the outside was a touchscreen that you could also, like, text from and whatever. But then you could fold it open, and you had a full keyboard.
Yeah, and like a big screen on the inside, and it was so cool, guys.
It was the coolest.
Yeah, it was the best phone to this day. Well, aside from the iPhone that like I've ever had, honestly.
Yeah, I actually ran that one into the ground. Like,
yeah, me too. Like I had that one forever.
Undone.
Yeah, I didn't want to get rid of that one because I was just like, there's nothing that's gonna be better than it.
Yeah,
like there's things similar, but nothing better.
Like even when I wasn't using it, I had that phone like in my room for several years afterward until like maybe the middle of college. It irks me that I must have like dumped it at some point.
Yeah.
Because now I don't have it anymore.
Truly.
It makes me so sad.
Truly. Anyway, okay, so fast forwarding. Well, actually, not fast forwarding. Kind of backtracking because we started talking about high school a little bit.
These are all kind of like paralleling a little bit because they were all happening, interweaving within each other.
Exactly. So back when we were like elementary school, middle school, CDs were a huge thing, which I know there's still a thing, and like I personally still collect CDs.
Yeah.
But back then it was like that was the newest technology to listen to music on.
Yeah, if you didn't want to listen to a cassette tape, like you listened to CDs, and like the big like cool thing, because like obviously for cassette it was the Walkman. That was the portable cassette player.
Right.
Like you had like a lot of people had portable CD players.
Yeah, it was definitely a thing. And I remember, like, me and my sister, we had multiple. And we had one that was called the Jogger. And it had a clip.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so you can, like, clip it onto your pants and, like, you know, like, do some, like, mobility, whatever. And, like, it was this huge clunky thing. Like, the size of a CD, it was, like, bigger than that because it had to fit a CD in it.
Yeah. And, like, the whole thing with, like, CDs and stuff with that is that even with too much mix, like, I think about, like, mine had a clip as well. Mm-hmm. However, like, first of all, I feel like you could only wear that with jeans because that's the only, like, bottoms you could wear that are sturdy enough to hold that up.
Hold it, yeah.
But also, like, if you, like, jump around too much, you could, the CD would skip.
The CD would, like, be, like, moving. Totally.
So, like, it would, like, get all, because...
And then you'd be worried that you're scratching your CD, and then you're just like,
because that was the other thing too, like scratching CDs, especially like when you're a kid, like you're scratching the heck out of those CDs.
Yeah, it was a time.
Then you had CD cases.
CD cases, yeah, like big books, like albums of like CDs.
Yeah, and then like some people in their cars would have like where it connects to the
visor.
The visor, like yeah.
CD inserts.
I had bought one of those for a friend I had in college a couple of years ago. For his birthday, I bought him one of those.
That's cute.
Because he still listens to CDs.
That's
so I
cute.
bought him one of those. And it was really useful for him, actually.
That's cute. Yeah, but kind of going off of the CD things, I also remember my dad, especially because, I mean, my parents, like I said, they're pretty, like, technology forward. Mm-hmm. And my dad, back in the day, being a musician, he also had, like, this extravagant stereo setup. That was, like, it was, like, if you imagine a bookshelf with, like, 5, what are they called? Like, levels?
Yeah, shelves.
Shelves, thank you. With, like, 5 shelves, like, probably 3 or 4 of them were taken up by the same CD, like, stereo setup.
Wow.
Because, like, one would be, like, the volume control. The next one would be, like, where you actually insert, like, the discs. And then the next one would be, like, the woofer system and, like, the stereo, whatever. Yeah, like, it was, like, these extravagant stereos. And my dad would be, like, working on it. Like, I remember at our family parties, he'd be, like, over at the, like, stereo, like, you know, like, changing the songs and stuff and changing the bass and, like, all this stuff. And, like, to this day, like, me being a technology person, well, you know, not, you know, whatever, knowing technology, if I were to be presented one of those setups, I'd be like, I have no clue how to work this. This is too detailed.
For sure. And then, like, also the big thing, which, because we weren't really growing up when, like, we weren't doing mixtapes, so we were doing mixed CDs. Like, that's how I listened to, like, all my music in middle school, was mixed CDs, right before we changed to more digital things. But at the same time with CDs, there's also a DVD and Blu-ray. Since everything was going out to discs, like Blu-ray, obviously, not obviously for some people, but obviously, like, it comes after DVDs. Like, there was the period of time where DVDs were all the rage.
Yeah, DVD was the newest technology.
For sure. And that was pretty cool also because it wasn't as clunky as the VHS tape, and you didn't have to rewind them, and it was, like, pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, like, the new cool thing. Obviously, it's still in use today. It is kind of, like, going out of date.
I love
I love it. Like, I still collect DVDs. Like, to this day, I will always collect DVDs. But, like, technically, it's out of date tech, whatever, because we're moving more towards, like, digital files, whatever. Like, you could buy it online, whatever. But, yeah, going to your same point, it's just, like, it was this huge innovation moving from, like, VHSs to now these DVDs where you can, like, also interact with them. Like, there was, I don't know if you remember on, like, certain movies, there was, like, games that you could play, like, on the DVD. It was just crazy with deleted scenes and, like, all the special features. Yeah. It was innovative.
The third Harry Potter movie has something like that. You could take a tour of, like, the castle.
Yeah.
Using the DVD player.
Yeah. And then for me, my favorite one was Shrek 2.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember the game. It was like American Idol basically, but with all the characters. Yeah, like there's games on DVDs.
That's so cool. The only kind of annoying thing was Blu-ray. I really didn't like Blu-ray mostly because you have to have a whole different player in order to play anything.
Absolutely. Like, I had the hardest time remembering, like, the difference between DVD and Blu-ray growing up. Like, I would always put Blu-ray players into DVD player or Blu-ray discs into DVD players. Yeah. And be like, why isn't it working?
And the reverse, can you play regular DVDs in a Blu-ray player?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can. You just can't do Blu-rays and DVD players. Like, which doesn't really make that much sense to me. Like, okay, what is the difference really?
It's high def? Yeah, it's higher definition stuff.
Oh, okay, whatever.
I mean, but during the time, that was pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, I guess. For me, Blu-ray is unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree.
But, yeah, and then moving on past the CD kind of era, there was MP3 players.
Yeah, when everything started going digital. And I had so much fun looking this up earlier. Looking up what my first MP3 player it was a white Zen Creative Nano. It was like this little dinky thing, like maybe like this size. And it was white, and I put silver and black rhinestones on it, like rhinestone stickers. Like, I put that on it.
Amazing.
And like when I was looking at it online earlier, I was only really seeing that as far as storage went, it was between like, I think that you could get a little bit less than a gig, but you could get about like a gig to 5 gigs of storage.
Okay. Which equates to how many songs?
From what I read online, it can equate to anywhere from 125 to 250 songs, I guess, depending on the song length. Okay. Because I feel like when we were growing up, songs weren't really as long as they are now. Yeah. But in comparing that, I looked at my phone earlier and saw how much music I have on my phone currently. I have about 2,300 songs, and that's about 18 gigs.
Jesus.
So the comparison there is pretty nuts. Because I was thinking, like, back in the day, like, when I had this MP3 player, oh my goodness, this is so cool. I can listen to, because like you would burn, like you would rip songs from not DVDs, from CDs. Like you'd be able to import your songs. I don't even remember how it worked for my MP3 player, but like I had, it's so funny because I thought like at the time it was like the edgiest thing ever. Like the third, because even then I didn't play any of my songs in shuffle. I only just did like a straight, like I ordered the songs.
Yeah.
And the third song on my MP3 player was Breaking the Habit.
I love that song. By Linkin Park.
Yes. Was Breaking the Habit. And the only reason I knew that song is because I had seen something on YouTube or whatever of that song set as the background to a scene from this anime of a manga that I really liked.
How funny.
That's the only reason why I knew the song.
That's random, but so funny. I love that song.
It's such a great song. So angsty for, a 12-year-old me, because I also had this when I was 12 years old. Like I remember listening to it on the bus, and it was like Linkin Park mixed with like the soundtrack to High School Musical.
Okay, good mix. Something that I really did that we didn't put in our notes when I was younger is I used to religiously watch like MTV and VH1 for like the music videos.
Oh yeah?
Like that used to be a thing. Like they would just have hours of music videos on like MTV and VH1. Yeah. And like that's how I would get like my music, and that's how I got exposed to like Linkin Park and like, Green Day and like all the good bands like today. That's how I did it, because I didn't have MP3 player, I didn't have like whatever. Yeah. And that's today they never do that. They do not play music on those stations.
Yeah, not anymore. One of the first like secular songs that I heard was One Two Step by Sierra.
I had a choreographed dance to that with my sister.
Oh, Sierra and Missy Elliott again?
Yeah.
Did you really?
We did.
That's amazing. That was like one of the first ones.
I love that song.
It's great.
It was a banger.
It really was.
So moving forward I don't know if it's moving forward, but kind of whatever. Around the same time, there was also like Game Boys and like the original game systems, like Nintendo, like Super Nintendo and like all that good stuff.
That was so much fun. I had the original Game Boy growing up.
Wow.
The original Game Boy, and we'd play Tetris, like the original Tetris. Like I actually saw this like on a documentary like recently, but the original Tetris, like I don't know if you know this, but the creator of Tetris is from Russia.
Oh, okay.
Back when it was more so like, communist Russia, USSR
right.
thing. So like someone had to like go to Russia to try to like be like, hey, like want to make this game like a bigger thing. Like it came out of Russia. So like if you look at like the original graphics, like it's set, like you could see like the skyline of like certain like Russian buildings.
Oh, how interesting. Yeah. The more you know. But yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, Game Boys were really cool. I didn't have one. I had not the original Super Nintendo, but I think the generation after the first one with like the big boxy like game inserts that you had to like blow on to get the dust off of.
I feel like that was like for a while, because like my grandparents had the NES, so the original Nintendo system.
Okay.
And like you had to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Blow on those cartridges, man. Even I feel like for Game Boys.
Really?
Well. A little bit, but I think it's just because like my brothers are the ones like the Game Boys, so they would kind of treat their stuff a little bit gnarly. Like we had the original Pokemon Red, and one of my brothers had it in the pocket of their shorts, and it got washed in the laundry. To this day, you can't use the save function on it. So like I'd play it on the bus, and then I'd only be able to play until whenever I got to school. And that's how far I ever got in that game.
That sucks.
Is how far I could get in one sitting from my house all the way to school.
That's funny.
So I'd barely be able to get out of Pallet Town before I had to, like maybe if I was trying really hard, I could evolve whatever starter Pokemon I had to the second evolution.
That sucks. Yeah, I didn't have a game. I really didn't grow up with like game systems. Like now as an adult, like, I have like a PS4 and PS3, like a Xbox, whatever. But like growing up, I didn't have anything. So like Game Boys were not really a thing for me, but like it was happening all around me. And I was jealous. Like I wanted one, but my parents were like, no, it'll rot your brain, but whatever.
So we had a lot of Game Boys, but we didn't actually have our first like at-home console until the GameCube in my house.
Yeah.
And like we were pretty much Nintendo all the way until like my twin brother got into high school, and then he was all about the Xbox. But yeah, so we had a GameCube, which was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, GameCube was pretty bad.
Like, still to this day, GameCube is my favorite system.
The best games on it. Mario Party, the best.
Mario Party, amazing. I would bring the GameCube to school.
Yeah,
back when we were
in college. And
we would play roommates. Like, we would play on the GameCube. Was the best thing
stuff.
ever.
Yeah, good stuff.
But, yeah, so it was GameCube, and then we got a Wii. Then we had that for the longest time, which Wii was pretty revolutionary in and of itself because it had, like, a lot of motion capture stuff. But I feel like that maybe they weren't the first one to do that because I think PlayStation did that with certain games as well, like when the dancing games.
I don't know, because I know that Xbox had the Kinect, which I had.
That was it.
But that was definitely after the Wii.
Yeah, Wii was pretty cool.
I think Wii was revolutionary. Yeah, I didn't get my first games, well, like, aside from, like, the Super Nintendo, whatever, I didn't get my first game system till, I want to say sophomore year of high school, and it was the Xbox 360.
The one that you brought to school?
Yes. And I used the hell out of this Xbox. Like, I brought it to college when we were there, and, like, by that time it was already outdated. Like, I think
we used it as a DVD player, really.
Yeah, we used it as a DVD player, but the thing is that, like, the Xbox 360 was so poorly made originally. Do you remember, like, it had that cough?
My brothers never had a cough. I remember yours did.
Mine had a cough, and, like, every, like, you know, like, every couple of seconds it would just make this, like, noise, like, whatever. Yeah. And, like, you just had to get used to it, but it was so obnoxious. And then on top of that, all of the Xbox 360s, like, to this day, I'm pretty sure none of them exist anymore because all of them got the red ring of death.
Oh, yeah, that was the thing back then.
Yeah, and it was just, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like it overheated or something, and, like, your entire Xbox would just be, like, shining red lights, and you're just like, God, the end of times. Yeah. But, yeah, good times. And then now, like, I feel like the PS4 now is, like, so much nicer than, like, the Xbox was.
Yeah.
And, I mean, probably the Xbox One is also, but I just don't have experience with it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like those platforms as much. I'm still, like, a Nintendo loyalist. Yeah. Like, I got...
the OG games.
Yeah. So, like, I really like the OG games, like, as far as, like, the handheld, like, gaming systems. Like, I had the Game Boy Advance, which was so cool. Mine was pink at the time. The Game Boy Advance SP, and then the DS.
Oh, yeah, the DS. Those are cool.
I had the DS, and then I stopped doing video games really for a while, like, as far as, like, getting my own systems, and I didn't get one again until, like, last year when I got the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Which has been a pretty good investment, I think.
Honestly,
we play it all the time.
It's like...
to play Mario Party again.
Yeah, actually. We cannot get off Mario Party. But, anyways, yeah, so moving off of gaming systems, there was also, like, after the MP3, there was the introduction of the first iPod.
Yeah.
Which was, I don't even remember what year it was. It had to be probably, like, 2005?
Because I think that maybe the MP3s and the first iPod were just all happening at the same time.
Really? Okay.
Because I know, well, I think I might have been late to that kind of technology game as well. But... yeah, because the first thing that I got after my MP3 player was an iPod Nano. Oh, yeah, the Nanos were big. And that was before when you could watch anything, like, on your iPod. Yeah, there used to be, like, video and stuff. Yeah, because anyway, like, you were going to say about the original. Oh, yeah, sorry. So the original one, I had the original one, and it was, like, it was, like, a box. It was, like, a brick, and it had, like, 4 buttons, and it was, like, play, stop, fast forward, rewind, and then, like, a circle, like, where you could raise the volume, whatever. Yeah. And it was, like, this screen, and then you, like, kind of the same concept of the MP3 player. You just, like, load your music onto it, and then, like, you're carrying around this brick. And it was, like, crazy, because I was like, oh, my God, the new iPod's so cool, this is this. And I feel like very shortly after that came out is when all the new gens started coming. Like, they just started, like, going boom, 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 like, with the iPods. For sure. And then, like, the really cool thing, like, as the new generations, like, came out, when I got to my iPod Nano, like, you could start putting the cover art on things. And, like, that was the coolest thing ever. Like, you would, like, search online to find the cover art for whatever album, like, of the song that you had, because you wanted to make sure, like, that was added in. Like, that was the thing. Like, you could go to iTunes, like, put in that song. The song info. And then you could go to song info and update the cover art to whatever you wanted it to be. Yeah. Yeah, it was, like, pretty cool. The coolest. So, like, I mean, I'm sure you could probably still do that now, but I feel like nobody does it anymore. Yeah, you probably could, but I think that it's a little, like the system might be a little bit more intuitive now, where like it knows.
It just pulls it.
Maybe. But I think most people use like music streaming stuff nowadays. Like I don't buy music anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
I use Apple Music.
Yeah, it's obsolete now. But yeah, going back to like the new generations of the iPod. So it was like that first gen, and then it was like the second gen that was like a little bit smaller and then didn't have the 4 buttons on top. It was just like the little like circle bar, whatever.
Yeah, it's like touch wheel. Right?
Yeah, the touch wheel. And then after that, I think it was the shuffle, or maybe this all came at the same time, the iPod shuffle.
I think the shuffle was afterwards, because that's the one that you shook and it would shuffle the songs, right?
I didn't have one. I just remember that like you couldn't choose a song. Like you just play it and it like shuffles because it was.
Oh, you know what? It was like it was that little dinky.
Yeah, it was just like there was no screen. It was just like this like tubular thing.
Yeah, it was maybe like the size of like, I don't know, like part of your thumb, and then it just had the buttons.
Yeah,
to play things. Yeah, I never had one myself.
I didn't have one.
I remember while we were doing our research, running into
that. Yeah. And then the Nano came out, and I feel like the majority of people had the Nano.
Yeah.
Like, that was a very common one to have.
I think so, too. It was, and I think, like, the later generations of the Nano is when they started doing, like, you could shake the Nano, and it would change the song.
Yeah.
Which was super cool. And, like, the whole thing with the touch wheel, though, is that it was super buggy. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that, but, like, you would try to spin the wheel.
It would go, like, down 10 songs or something.
Yeah. And it would just like trip itself out, or like even not pay attention to what you're doing. And then also like there was a lock button.
Yeah.
You lock so it wouldn't interpret anything touching the wheel as actual actions happening. Mm-hmm. But I also had like this cool little like fold over case thing.
That's
where,
pretty cool.
Yeah. So after the Nano, I got the first video one, like the little video one. Mm-hmm. Lost that pretty quickly.
I never had the Nano. I had the original one, and then I went straight to like the newer gen one, which was the video, but it was the big one. And I remember it was black, and it was like
those were super cool. I had a friend who had one of those.
Yeah, I had a black one, and it played video, and I had the 30 Seconds to Mars. Oh my gosh, what's the song? The most popular song by 30 Seconds to Mars.
I couldn't tell you. It's too long, man.
Like something Kill. The Kill. I think it's called The Kill. Oh. But I had that music video on there, and I remember I would watch all the time. Shortly after this is when Microsoft was just like, oh man, like Apple's really kicking us in the butt because everyone's really sold on these like the iPhones. So they came out with their first not iPhone, but iPod. And Microsoft came out with their version of the iPod, and it was called a Zune.
Oh, Corey had a Zune.
I had a Zune. Yeah. I loved it. I actually liked it more than the iPod. Like, I don't know why. It was just, like, sleeker. It was skinny. It was, like, had ridges. And, like, I just liked how it looked. It was the exact same thing. It was just a different manufacturer.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I probably wouldn't have been into that much of that sort of thing because I liked the operating system I was already on. Like, because I'm pretty sure that, like, stuff that you would buy on iTunes is, like, licensed specifically to Apple products. Like, you can't, You can't
transfer it. Yeah, unless you're the sort that illegally rip music.
Which I wasn't.
Which I wasn't either. For all legal purposes.
Well, I actually really wasn't. But no, like that was really cool. So after that iPod, the big one that played the video, like they came out with the smaller version. That's the one I had. And then when I graduated from middle school, my parents got me a graduation present, and that was the iPod
Touch
Classic.
Oh. Sorry. What was the iPod Classic?
It was basically like a revamped version of the first video iPod.
Oh.
And it was super cool. I think that was the first like ridiculously huge memory device that I had. Like it had like 120 gigs. So like at that point, like I went over to my friend's cousin's house, and she like put her entire music library on that thing.
It's pretty cool.
I still have that, by the way. I still have it. Like I charge
Bring it on.
I charge it every once in a while, which by the way barely holds a charge anymore. But I charge it every once in a while just to like go through like all the throwbacks. Like it's the craziest thing. And, like back then, like also with the video stuff, that's when they started putting like you could buy episodes of TV shows and like put them on your iPod. It was the coolest thing. Like I had a few episodes of Scrubs on there, and that sort of thing was
pretty cool.
super dope. And like you could put music videos on there too.
Yeah.
And then I did, get the iPod Touch.
I had the iPod Touch too.
Soon thereafter.
Yeah.
But that was like the thing too. Like that was before you could really have a lot of music on your phone. Because I think like you probably could record like music like into your like voice memos or whatever. Yeah. But like you had to carry both a cell phone and
a music player.
Yeah.
And then like shortly after, like towards the end of high school is when it started becoming big that you just put your music on your like iPhones. Because that's when iPhones really started becoming a thing.
Yeah.
But
iPhones that we know and love today.
Yeah,
that's when they really first started becoming a thing.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was my junior year of high school, I want to say, was the first time I got a smartphone.
I think me too as well.
Yeah. And my phone was the Droid Aris, which I think they made it, like that was like the first line of smartphones that Google or HTC came out with, and then they like discontinued that phone like shortly thereafter because it sucked that bad. It was terrible. Like you could not do a single thing on it without it lagging out and like shutting off.
I feel like that was pretty like characteristic though of most droids back then, because my first smartphone around the same time was one of the earlier Samsung Galaxies. And I couldn't even really tell you what it was called, but I know that it was known by like kind of two names because it was like right in the middle of a name transition actually. Okay. But like the only reason I liked it is like I'd go into like the cell phone store with my parents every once in a while and I'd see it like on display and like you could use like this puzzle piece unlock thing. So basically like it had like the lock screen and then a piece of it was missing and like it was just like it had a puzzle cut out and you just dragged the puzzle piece over to that thing to unlock it, and I thought that was the coolest thing.
That's
and
cute.
I was in so much regret, like in the months following, because it was the worst.
Yeah.
At the factory, reset it so many times because it's just like it was always continuously bugging out.
Absolutely, I had factory reset mine all the time, and then I think right after that, I switched back to like a non-smartphone because I was just so over it. I was like, these smartphones suck, and then like shortly after that, I got my first iPhone.
Yeah, I feel like it was after that point when we first like. End of high school into college when basically data plans were just a staple.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think now you're to the point where you can't not have a data plan anymore.
Yeah, I don't even think that's an option anymore. I do remember like going through college, we had a specific data, which I don't even know if they do it. They might. But it was like everyone on our plan, we all had like a set amount of gigs that we could use like internet or like whatever and then like per month and it was collective. It was like between all of our phone numbers.
Oh, that's for sure still a thing because that's what my family's
Oh
on.
Really? Oh,
we
okay.
share like 16 gigs or something like that between it's I think the only one who's not on the plan is my twin brother's wife.
Okay.
So the 6 of us all have to share all this data. It's the worst.
Yeah, that's exactly that's how it was for my family. I don't know how many like gigs we had, but it was like my parents, me, my sister, and then her husband now. And then I just a really quick story because it's really funny. I remember it was my junior year. Well, yeah, our junior year of college. And we were in that situation where like we were nearing the end of the month and we got like that text message that's just like, oh, like you've used like 95% of your data this month, like be careful kind of deal.
Yeah.
And like whenever that happened, like all of it, like me, Danielle, and Brian, we would all like cringe because we knew that my mom was going to text us right after, like all of us in a group text and yell at us and be like, don't use the data plan, like, you know, we're going to go over whatever. And so all of us were like, it was like a uniting force to all of us because we were just like, man, we can't use any internet. And that one particular month, we were at like 99% like usage.
Oh man.
And we still had like a week left of the month. No. And so all of us were like, we were like cavemen, like we couldn't do anything. And so we were like, so miserable. And at the end of the week, another one of our friends was having a birthday like celebration in downtown Pomona. And so like we went out and we were drinking, whatever. And then that night when it hit midnight, it was like the start of the new month or the new month cycle, or so we thought. And so all of us being drunk or whatever, we're like high-fiving each other. We're just like, yeah, we can use internet again. And we were like on our phones, like going crazy, like so like unnecessary. Like we didn't need to be using that much data, but we were like Snapchatting, we're on Instagram, we're like posting, whatever, just because we were so like deprived of it the week prior. Just to come to realize, like, the next morning, once we sobered up, that it wasn't that night that the data plan reset. It was the next night that it reset. So, so we all went over, like, so much. And my mom was furious. Like, it was, like, an extra, like, $30 that we had to pay. And, like, that, I mean, that's, like, significant when you don't need to pay anything extra. Yeah. Having to pay $30, just, like, really? Are you kidding? For being stupid and drunk?
Yeah.
And, like, oh my God, my mom never let us, like, live it down. And all of us also were just like, remember that time when we were high-fiving in the bar about using data? But yeah, so I agree that that's, like, a terrible plan to be on.
Yeah, I really wish I had unlimited data. That'd be nice. It'd be nice not to have that worry. Because I definitely do. Although I think I'm probably at this point, because I play a lot of Pokemon Go. Because I'm, you and I both do. But
yeah.
I'm the one who's not on the unlimited data plan, so that gets a little bit dicey sometimes because I'm just like, I gotta play, gotta catch them all.
As your family's like, please stop.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so like that kind of brings us to the modern age, really.
Yeah, to where we are now, basically.
Yeah, and so like thinking back to like where we came from to like where we are now, do you think it's kind of trippy?
Oh, definitely. It's so weird to think about like how little access we really had to certain things because like now any whim that you have as far as like you want to know anything about the world, you can just open your browser real quick on your phone and Google it.
Yeah.
Whereas when we were kids, encyclopedias, or if you really wanted to
dial up the
internet, yeah, sure. But like, yeah, it's really weird. We didn't have instant access to basically anything we need. Like you could stream
movies.
You can stream movies now on multiple services, TV shows on multiple services. You could watch TV now through these services.
Yeah.
Like,
when back then, like, you had to go to, like, Blockbuster or something, or, like, you had to wait for it on actual, like, television, like, cable to watch these things.
We had to entertain ourselves in a different kind of way back then, and we were a lot less connected to each other. Like, you and I realize, especially, like, in the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 months or so, like, you and I talk a lot.
Yeah.
We text almost every day.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, that wasn't a thing, back when we were younger. Like, we couldn't be calling each other every day. That'd be ridiculous.
Or, like, sometimes we, like, text each other about nonsense, like, things that don't need to be really texted.
Yeah.
And, like, back in the day, like, that wouldn't happen. Like, we wouldn't call each other to say, like, by the way, Alex, guess what I saw right now? Kind of deal? Like,
for sure.
The relationships back then were so different.
Yeah, because you had to wait to see your friends. You had to wait until Monday or whatever, and then
which makes me think about summer, like summer vacations.
Yeah,
like how isolated that must have been. I mean, like we lived through it, but I guess at the time we don't realize it until now. Looking back, it's like wow.
Because now you can just hit up anyone and be like, hey, you want to go somewhere right now?
Yeah.
There's an immediacy to everything that there just wasn't back then.
Yeah, like we have lost so much patience as a society now with like the digital era.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, like it was a much slower pace of life.
It really was. And which, there's something definitely to be said for it because I think, there was something really good about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's really great to be as informed as we are now, but it definitely comes with a lot of drawbacks and stuff because I don't know if I know anyone who's walking around without their phone in their hand.
Absolutely. Or like in their immediate like person, like in their pocket or something.
Yeah, because that wasn't a thing as much. Like you could leave your cell phone somewhere because you couldn't play with it as much. Yeah. It wasn't, something to really use for fun that much. You used it to just like, oh, I need to call my mom right now.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it like makes me think like, what did I do? Like back, like for example, today, if I'm like ever in a waiting room or just a situation where I have to wait, I'm just on my phone, just kind of trying to pass the time.
Yeah.
Like, what was I doing back then? Like, did I take books everywhere I went?
That's another thing too.
Books. Yeah, but I mean,
that list goes on. But
yeah, it's
in any
infinite.
case, a lot of it is really cool how we've seen, the digital age transform
in such a short period of time.
Yeah, because we're only 25, so like that is a lot of change to happen in the past 25 years.
Yeah, I guess it's a quarter of a century, but it's still like that's not that long.
Not really, not in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy also how like kids these days, like kids born in the 2000s, Like, they won't know what half of the things we talked about, like, what it really was to use them, to, like, live a life with that only being your only option.
Y'all, they don't know about the Y2K scare.
The Y2K, yeah, when everyone thought the world's gonna end. They probably know about the 2012 one.
Yeah.
But probably not Y2K. Y2K was, like, pretty significant. Like, I feel like more people thought that was gonna happen than the 2012.
Yeah, definitely. I think so, too. Yeah. It was a crazy time to grow up. I think it was a really cool time to grow up just because it's nice to have that knowledge of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think that it might make us a little bit more laid back in general about all this stuff. Because, like, really for me, like, I don't use social media all that much either. Yeah, we don't have the need necessarily for all this stuff because we know a world without it.
Right.
Which is, has its benefits, has its merits.
Absolutely. It's been quite a wacky ride.
Yeah, it really has been.
But I think that, honestly, like, I think, going to your same point, we're really lucky to be in this particular generation where we get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to really learn this new technology as it's coming out.
Right.
In a very real
hands-on sort of way, yeah. All right.
So that is this week's episode of the TRUUU Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Drea.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
And we'll be talking to you next week.